Liverpool are breaking all sorts of records in the transfer market, as we know, and it's got the fans of all the other big spenders up in arms. They can't understand it. But it's all part of a much bigger picture, and that's what I'm going to talk about in this video today. Finally, after a long time, we have moved into the big leagues in terms of spending. After years of the oil barons and the Russian oligarchs taking over the likes of Chelsea and that other team with 115 charges against them, and just quite simply changing the game in terms of spending. Sometimes legal, often not. As well, and I only mention these because they used to be the flag bearers of financial clout, the self-proclaimed and delusional biggest club in the world, we all know who I'm talking about, right? Can hold a candle to what Liverpool Football Club is doing right now. So in terms of signings, if we do get Isak, and it's still a big if, after sealing the signings of Florian Wirtz and Ekitike, they have the potential of becoming the three most expensive transfers in Liverpool's entire history, all in one window. And just like Wirtz, Isak, if he does indeed come, and he's going to end up somewhere, where else would a hugely ambitious young footballer want to go right now? You want to go to the team that is blowing everyone else out the water and who's walked away with the Premier League title. There's nowhere else you would want to go, is there? I saw Frank Leboeuf on the telly yesterday, ex-Chelsea player. And I'll tell you what he said. And this is very, very different from the usual rhetoric you get on, this was on ESPN. And he said, Liverpool are the biggest club in the world right now. 2 years ago, the world's best players wanted to go to Real Madrid. Now they want to go to Liverpool. Now people can agree or disagree on that sentiment, but what you can't disagree with is that nobody was talking like this 12 months ago. And now they are. And that includes us, Liverpool fans, who were looking at a season of transition where a new manager would hopefully maintain where we were at and keep us up there challenging. But what we're seeing is a sea change at Liverpool. A clear change in focus, ambition and determination to make this club a global powerhouse, to be the absolute best. And it's more so than we've ever really seen, at least since the 70s and 80s, where we dominated Europe. And it may be even more of a sea change than that. I mean, even going back to 12 months, like I just said, when Arne Slot come in, it was a bit underwhelming, wasn't it? Like, come on, we think differently now, but it was a bit underwhelming at the time. He wasn't a serial winner of one of Europe's top 5 leagues. He wasn't well known, didn't have the magic, the history of Xabi Alonso. And if you go back a bit further over the last, decade, even FSG's most ardent fans would not say that they were known for their lavish spending, would they? That is until now. Now I keep talking about the dream team of Arne Slot and Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes, who along with FSG have truly built the Rolls Royce of football sustainability and success on the field. The use of data and metrics to identify the exact players needed to achieve the vision, all done under a brilliant model of sustainability and incredibly intelligent spending, recouping and investment. And they've done it not by going suddenly from thrifty to reckless. Their commitment to ensuring the club is self-sustainable financially remains laser focused. And they've developed this model based on something that they call the virtuous circle. Let me explain. And it was first mentioned, I think, by the Chief Commercial Officer, Ben Latty, just after we won the title. And he explained that commercial success drives football success and football success drives commercial success. Sounds like a no-brainer, doesn't it? Sounds oh so simple. But in the real world, only a world-class elite team can take that simple vision to an actual reality, and that's what they're doing. Success on the field has resulted in record revenues that are being reinvested heavily and sustainably back into the squad. And then as recently as this week, Liverpool's CEO Billy Hogan repeated that mantra about the virtuous cycle. And he said this just a couple of days ago. It doesn't just happen. It's been years in the making. One of the things we're constantly focused on is the virtuous cycle. Trying to run the club in the right way to ensure that we can generate as much revenue as we possibly can. That obviously helps in terms of being able to put more back into the team, which is incredibly important in terms of future success. We've been successful in doing that. We also recognise, having won the English League title for the 20th time, that this is one of the biggest clubs in the world, and we want to make sure that we are behaving like one. And that last line is absolutely critical. Because you know what the catalyst for all this was? It was after we won the title 6 years ago. And then in 23-24, we dropped down into the Europa League. And that was not in the plan. And it caused them to have a serious rethink about how that could possibly happen. A rethink not just about the financial model, but on the whole virtuous cycle model. They realised that after the last title win, they didn't make the right moves to solidify that success. Or in other words, they didn't behave like one of the world's biggest clubs. In fact, the main reason for having a big financial loss in 23-24 of 57 million quid was because we didn't make the Champions League and we only made the Europa League. And they do not want to see that happen again. And what we're seeing now is the result of that. So for us fans, you know, we don't get the Champions League, we're very disappointed, and it's not good for the finances of the club. But in terms of the ownership model, in terms of their commitment to this virtuous cycle, it's financially devastating. So to put that into perspective, we lost 57 million in that season in the Europa League. Now last season in the Champions League, we actually profited by 87 million. So going from a 57 million deficit to an 87 million profit, when you just look at that one piece of the equation in terms of European qualification, that's a net increase of 144 million quid that becomes available for reinvestment. That's how much it matters to be in the elite European competition. Of course, that comes with other considerations too. The world's elite players want to play for the world's elite clubs, and the world's elite clubs are in the Champions League. I wonder, of the superstars we've just signed, I wonder how many of them would have still come if we'd finished 6th and only qualified for the Europa League. Or even worse, we'd finished 15th and not qualified for Europe at all. I had to get that in. I mean, success breeds success. We all know that. It's obvious, but I just want to map out what that really means and how it fits into this model. Winning the title means that we've got hugely lucrative TV rights. We're expanding the global fan base. We've got increased sponsorships and potential sponsorship money. We've got increased prize money from just winning it or doing so well in the Champions League. And we've got the ability now to sign the best players in the world. And this is how we've reaped the rewards in the last 12 months. For winning the Premier League, 175 million. For doing so well in the Champions League by winning the league stage, 84 million. Adidas, 60 million. And then increased matchday revenue because FSG have invested in Anfield, so we now have an over 61,000 capacity. That actually gives us matchday revenue from ticket sales of 100 million per season. Now, in terms of the TV rights, so last season of Liverpool's 38 league games, 30 of them were televised domestically, more than any other club in England. Now, the amount of prize money you receive from the Premier League is based on two things. One, your Premier League position, and two, the number of games that are domestically televised. Liverpool are number one in both. Also, in the last 2 seasons, Liverpool are the most watched Premier League team in the world. We're also the team with the highest social media engagement, with over 1.5 billion fan engagements and with 11.9 billion views across social media. Number one in all of those. We also became the first Premier League club to reach over 10 million subscribers on YouTube. That's even more than this channel. So let's move on to PSR. And it's quite complicated, but I'll do my best to uncomplicate it if I can. But bear with me, okay? So the first thing to note is that everyone is under the same rule. You can lose up to 105 million quid over the course of a rolling 3-year period. Now, I mentioned in an earlier video that Liverpool have a net spend over the Klopp era and Slot's first year of only 50 million quid per year, which is incredible for the squad we've put together. That's the equivalent of one player these days. And because of the use of metrics and data and this sustainability model that they've so brilliantly put together, we've probably got a 90% success rate in all of those signings. Very, very few of them fail. And again, that's pretty much unprecedented. It's put us at the absolute top of the world in terms of recruitment of players. And yet we are way down the list in terms of net spend and gross spend. Quite simply, Liverpool can do what they're doing right now because in the last year, we've earned more than anybody else and we've managed to finance us better than anybody else. 23-24 season saw Liverpool with record revenue of 614 million quid. That, according to the experts, is going to top 700 million for this year. Numbers haven't come out yet. Now, for that 3-year rolling period that PSR looks at, from 21-22 to 23-24, those 3 seasons, Liverpool posted a profit of 7 million, a loss of 9 million, and a loss of 57 million, and net loss of 59 million. That 57 was the Europa League season. But then you've got to factor in other things called allowable deductions. And these include investments in infrastructure, academy development, community projects, and the cost of running your women's team. All of them get factored into PSR. So over this same 3-year period as the 59 million loss, Liverpool had 33 million, 35 million, and 39 million deductibles from these allowable deductions. So, without you doing the maths, I'll do it for you. We had a net positive PSR position of 48 million quid, which when you add to the allowed 3-year maximum loss of 105 million, means we had 153 million to play with. Stay with me, I'm almost done. But so while others are flirting with the 105 million loss and trying to figure out creative legal ways of getting around that, we are in an incredibly fantastic financial position. It's stunning financial and fiscal management over the course of these last several years. And you know, we've done all this, winning 2 Premier League titles, we've won the Champions League, and we've won a bunch of all the other cups as well. We've spent only 50 million a season. Now, another major important point here is a thing called amortization. Signings that are amortized or spread out over the length of the contract. So even if we were to get Isaac for 120 million, that gets amortized over a 5-year period with a 5-year contract, which means it's amortized as 24 million per year. So even with all these new signings, all these superstars we're bringing in, the total amortized cost for 25-26 is only going to be 62 million per year, with a spend of over 300 million. That is below all of Chelsea, Man City, Man United, Tottenham and Arsenal. We have only the 6th highest amortization costs in the English Premier League. Then you factor in other things like Darwin Núñez potentially getting sold. Now, if he gets sold, and again, I won't get into the nitty gritty of this, but if we sell Darwin Núñez for over 31 million, which we're going to get, we actually come out on the positive side of PSR because of the length of his contract, how long his contract is run, and all the facts and figures that go into that. And then you've got the likes of Gerald Kwanzaa and that fellow who went to Real Madrid, two products of the academy who are pure profit. All of this goes into the model. So I'll just boil it all down to a couple of facts, the only things you really need to know. Over the last 3-year periods, up until 23-24, Liverpool are net PSR positive by around 60 million quid. And the experts are predicting that we will make a profit of 50 million quid in 24-25. So let's assume we get that 50 million profit for 24-25. It would mean that overall, taking everything I've just said into account, that for Liverpool to be in a negative PSR situation, we would have to lose £242 million in 25-26, which is not just next to impossible, it is impossible, and it's not going to happen. That's how financially brilliant this club has been, and that's why we can absolutely blow the doors off the transfer market and still have cash in the bank. So enough of the numbers. Sorry about all that. My head's exploding just trying to present them in a coherent manner. It's actually easier to just quote one of the Premier League's financial experts who said this week, Liverpool are in a position of tremendous financial strength, and they still will be, regardless of what happens in this current window. So the greatest club in the world is being effectively managed by the greatest coaching and backroom staff in the world. Together, they're putting together the greatest squad in the world with the greatest financial management model of anyone in the world. And we need to give a shout out to FSG because this has all happened under their watch. These were the ones that brought in the statistical model in the first place, and these are the ones that brought in Arne Slot, Jurgen Klopp, Richard Hughes, Michael Edwards, and I've worked together with all of them to get us to where we got to be. So you've got to be looking at FSG as the best owners in the world as well, because I don't see anyone else doing it anywhere close to what Liverpool are doing right now. It's a sea change that I am absolutely confident is going to see England's most successful club go on to even greater heights than we've already seen. Roll on the new season. You'll never walk alone. Cheers to that.